on Sports 1140.
It's time for the True Sports Card Show, the only 1 hour radio show giving you the latest information in sports cards, memorabilia, and collectibles. Here are your hosts, Emin Pilati, Tim Big Shep Shepler, and Kevin Whitey Gleason. Marge, I'm large.
Happy holidays. Whitey here with the one and only king of the card parts, Emin Pilati. I guess Happy New Year's kind of in order, Emin.
This is our last show of 2024.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm excited to kind of recap how the year went, the addition of you to the team and the show. And I'm excited about this conversation we're going to have today. You're quite the booker when it comes to people. I go, hey, do you think you could make this happen this morning about an hour and a half ago? And you worked your magic, and we have one spectacular guest that we're going to talk to you in a second.
We certainly do. Before we get to the hobby news, we have a special guest to address the big news around here. Nice enough to join us. He's always so gracious and generous with his time. All-time Kings icon, the one and only Jerry Reynolds with us. Jerry, how are you today, sir?
I'm pretty good considering everything that's happened with the Kings lately. So it's I'm just living the life. I'm kind of like Jim Harbaugh, who's got it better than me.
Yeah, there you go.
Nobody. That's the answer.
Nobody.
Yeah. Oh, well, let me start with this, Jer. Where are you with this? Were you surprised when you actually heard the news yesterday about Mike Brown being let go?
Oh, yes, absolutely. I certainly knew things weren't going well. I think most of us that follow the Kings watch them and all that, the record being what it is, and the manner of some of the losses. But still, the guy was coach of the year a couple of years ago. I thought if, in fact, they weren't happy with him and the team continued to flounder, that maybe the end of the year would be a coaching change. But I thought since they gave him the extension, if nothing else, they wouldn't want to eat $5 million.
They're very good at paying coaches that do not coach there anymore. That's for sure. Jerry, it's interesting because I was an honorary drive guy yesterday, so the conversations were hot and heavy. People very emotional during that time yesterday that we were talking, and we were just joking that the coach of the year is kind of like the Madden cover curse. You get coach of the year and you're unceremoniously fired within 3 years after receiving that, whether it was Nick Nurse or it was, Monty Williams. A lot of these coaches that got coach of the year end up unceremoniously being let go right after. Jerry, you've been a part of the organization so long and seeing some of these dark times in our 916 era. Is there usually a time where coaches kind of feel or they know something's going to happen similar to this? Do you think Mike had any inkling knowing that this might have been coming down the line?
Well, I think coaches usually do, but I'm not sure that Mike would have, any more than I felt like when Mike Malone got fired. I think that really was out of the blue.
That was a blindside for sure.
And so I think it's maybe a little different circumstances. I always kind of remember working with Phil Johnson and Bill Russell, when I end up being interim for them, and I think they pretty much had a feeling that something was going to happen, So that was a little different, I guess. But each team, each owner does things different. But it was. I just couldn't quite believe it that the trigger would be pulled that quickly. You'd have to know, from Mike, what all he went through the last week or so when things were getting bad. But I can't believe he expected this.
Yeah, and obviously the way it actually went down, so unfortunate, and certainly you got to think if you got to fire someone, there's a better way than that. But as far as the interim issue, Jerry, you having gone through this, how difficult is it now for Doug Christie to step in and try to keep things moving and keep things organized while presumably trying to, at some point, make his own impression on what's going on?
Well, it's really tough. Probably the first few games won't be as tough as people think because players themselves will respond. Usually they want to come out and play well and show that it wasn't their fault. So
even though it usually
you
is,
know,
right? It usually is their fault, right?
well, I mean, yeah, players. You know, last time I checked, players are the ones on the floor. So, but I mean, that's kind of been the history of it. If you look through interim situations, but then as the thing gets going, some of the same problems will still be there. You know, with the roster and size and different things like that. So, you know, yeah, I'm hoping for Doug to do well. Obviously, a good guy and known him a long time, and so just hope that it works well for the team and him. But it's a tough go, especially, you know, if in fact he's not confident that even if he does well that he'll keep the job. So it's just such a tenuous time.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
For me, Jerry, I'm hoping, and you know, remember I grew up in the era of, well, I mean, I've been around since the Otis Thorpe, Joe Klein days, and watching as a little boy.
Oh my goodness!
Oh
well,
yeah, I watched you
older
as
than I thought. Yeah.
I would say the same about you, but I have lots of respect for you, Jerry. What I was going to say was, when you went to the Spano Center in Stockton to coach and be part of the Kings when the Kings and the Warriors were doing some exhibitions and stuff, I went there, and you might remember this, Jerry. I approached you and I asked you if you'd sign my card, and you were like, absolutely. And then I broke out the African-American Jerry Reynolds player on the 89 Hoops card for you to sign. And you go, this isn't me. And I go, oh, I looked up at you and I go, yeah, you're right. That is not you. And I got nervous, but I did have your other card. You signed it for me. The point of what I'm getting at, this is a therapy hour for Emmer and Pilati. What I was getting at, Jerry, is that when you think about the era of the heyday of the Kings, the Bibby, Christie, Peja, Vlade, Webb years, there's such great memories from those times. And Doug was such a big part of that. And what I hope and I'm praying is that Doug has a really great run, whether he ends up being the head coach or not. This is a tough uphill battle right now for the rest of the season. In order to reach 46 wins like they did last year, Whitey and I did the math, they've got to go 65% win total for the rest of the year just to match last year's for the rest of the year. That's a tough call. My hope is, and as much as we loved Vlade, that session where Vlade was the GM, player personnel, VP, etc., that kind of tarnished his local legacy because of the Luka passing on Luka and going with Bagley and some other choices that he made. My hope is that Doug has a really great run that keeps that reverence of the Doug Christie mindset of the Sacramento era. He's been a radio host for a long time. He was a color commentator for a long time. So he's involved in this community. My hope is, and maybe you could shine some light on this, Jerry, you know, keeping Doug in our good graces and making us feel great about Doug here locally, that we may have lost a little luster in the Vlade aspect of things.
Well, there's no question we did. It's a shame with Vlade because he was and is just a delightful person, one of the absolute good guys of all time. I mean, I'm saying that fully aware that you know, his stint as general manager didn't go great, and I'm like everyone. I watch Luka play every now and then, and sort of get pissed off, to be honest with you.
Yeah, it's kind of annoying. That guy should be wearing a different uniform.
But yeah, you know, I'm with you there. I just, you know, working with Doug, you know, and TV, certainly was around him a lot, you know, during his playing days, and he was just a real thoughtful, hard-working, smart basketball guy. I mean, he really is a basketball junkie. So you just hope for the best and hope that you know, that nothing does tarnish his legacy as a King. You know, that would be my hope as well.
Jerry, how much of his success with the Kings hinges on how accepting the players are of him and of this current situation?
About 99.9%, I would say.
Mm-hmm.
You know, they've got to buy in, and I think they will. I mean, there can't be any of them that really would say, "Boy, I don't like Doug Christie."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that'd be pretty hard to believe. So they're going to want it to work, and so that's a good start. And you know, it's not like that. You know, Doug didn't fire Mike Brown.
Yeah.
So that's really not on him, and you know, that's what I always used to say, with Phil Johnson, when I was my first intercept, I didn't fire him. I wouldn't have fired him. I stay as coach. But it's a ticklish situation for the coach and really the assistant coaches as well. So one that's still there and everything like that, because it's really a change in dynamics in the coaching area of all of them. And so what will be a key, I think, is with De'Aaron and Sabonis and DeRozan and Monk, kind of the veteran guys. They're the keys to the whole thing. Success of a team really starts at the top of the lineup, and that's, really probably the success isn't really going to hinge a lot on what Isaac Jones thinks.
What did you say yesterday? Why do you said, if you're really concerned? Oh no, it was Scott Marsh that said it. He said, if you're concerned about what's going on with the 10th guy on the bench and his play and how it's going to affect the Kings, you got bigger problems than that. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Jerry, they're playing tonight against the Lakers, our hated Lakers tonight. It's the first game under Doug as head coach. What's it like for players? You've had that situation to where the players are now playing for this new coach, or you've been against a team that's now having a new coach in the middle of a season that's playing. What are the players' mindsets moving into tonight with this new coach? Is it a little somber, or let's win one for the Gipper? Like what's the mindset for the players now, knowing that this is this fresh slate that they've got to work with?
Well, I think that's what you really hope will happen, is that they'll go into the game with a clean, fresh slate. It's what's happened. We can't change it. Let's go forward here. We're playing against a team that we know we can beat. We haven't beaten them, but by playing better, we can. And so let's go do it. I mean, that's what you want, because it is a clean slate and a fresh slate. And so I always say one thing about teams, and the best of situations, whether it's Steve Kerr or Eric Spoelstra or whoever, there's always 2 or 3 guys on the roster that aren't particularly happy with whoever's coaching, depending on playing time and how they're played. So I think, of course, has always been the key, is the main thing. You don't want have to have 2 or 3 enemies among your best players. If it's your worst players, you can live with that.
Yeah, that's nice that you feel that way. Go sit on the end of the bench. Yeah. But the other thing too, Jerry, is that like the distraction of the hot seat of a coach, that is gone. Doug will take this to the end of the season, no matter what, whether he's retained as head coach next year or he's replaced. But the hot seat, is the coach going to get fired? That is off the table. Now it's fully on the players and on them to make this turnaround happen with Doug's guidance. But I think that also relieves a lot of pressure in the standpoint of the coaching staff is going to have to feel the heat of a hot seat, because that's done. Nobody's going to, I can't even remember if anybody's ever done an interim and then fired the interim in the middle of the season too. I mean, maybe if they go on a 20-game losing streak, but
I think the Kings did that, didn't they? A couple of years.
Sounds like something
might have happened.
Yeah,
the Kings, I think, did.
Yeah.
Okay, that's embarrassing that I said, who in their right mind would do something like that, Jerry? And Jerry goes, hold my coffee.
You answered your own question. So.
Who was it?
Wasn't Kenny Nat or
Kenny Nat and
Smart?
Reggie Fist and the Kenny Nat and Key Smart, maybe. I'm not sure. It all runs together.
It's so strange. It's so strange. My skin tone's a little brown, but I'm very red right now, considering the fact that I just said.
You're right. It is.
Who in their right mind would do that?
We would.
We would do that. That's right.
Who's the guy that used to play for the Kings and he played for the Jazz? Oh, I can't think.
Tyrone Corbin.
Yeah, there you go. I think it happened.
Yeah,
to him.
Ty Corbin.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah, Tyrone was interim. I think he was immediately after Mike Malone.
That was a rough.
No.
Yeah.
I think Malone was the most blindsided fire I had seen in a while. I think, if I recall, DeMarcus was sick. He was out.
Yes.
They had a winning record. It was early in the season. They were like, yeah, I'm not liking how this is going. Get out of here.
Yeah.
And we were just shocked. And I don't know if you read the quotes yesterday, Jerry, but
yes,
Malone.
I did. Yes, I did.
Malone
They
was
caught
like,
your eye, did they?
Malone was like, I've been waiting for years. He pulled out a little piece of paper from his jacket and read saying what he wanted to say forever. So
Well,
he let him
I've
have
known
it.
Coach Malone a long time, and one thing I'll say for him, he besides being an outstanding coach, I mean, he's been known to hold a grudge now. And,
You think? That was so good.
you get the idea that it didn't set well with him then or now.
Jerry, I may ask you kind of a theoretical. With De'Aaron Fox, we don't know what's going to happen. I think as we look at it now, it looks like the Kings have two choices, which would be you make some trades here, you get Doug Christie, and you try to still salvage this season, make a run at some kind of postseason spot, or you tear it down. My question is, and again, I know this is all theoretical. We don't know where everything stands now, but do you think there's any way in which they could trade De'Aaron if he wanted out and still stay relevant in the short term? Do you have to tear it down if you get rid of Fox, or is there any way you could kind of thread the needle and stay relevant in trading him for somebody who helps you immediately right now? Is that even remotely possible in your view?
Well, I think it's possible because if you could, if in fact you decided to trade him and could get a deal which could fill a couple of holes, you might not be able to fill, his exact talent level, but certainly if you could get a big wing kind of player, big or power guy, and another possible guard, I don't know, but certainly fill a couple of holes, you might actually end up better, even though you don't have either player as good as Fox, because where the Kings are lucky, I think they've got some, guys that can score individually, certainly with DeRozan and Monk and Sabonis, and certainly, I think Murray's capable of doing more. So if you got just a couple of guys that are top level players, but it'd have to be something like that.
Yeah.
I mean, short of, I don't know. I mean, short of getting just a real major star power forward in exchange, which is, could happen, I guess. But yeah, that would be it. I think it is possible. The problem is you got 50 games basically left, and if you're Coach Christie and the players, your goal's got to be, let's go win as many as we can, see where it goes.
Mm-hmm.
You can't. It's kind of like being in a game and being 20 down in the fourth quarter. It's like, wait, don't worry about the score. Just go play as well as you can. And then we can check the score near the end of the game, see where we are. Mm-hmm. Kind of like Detroit did.
Hey, wow.
The scab ain't even fully healed.
You just picked at it.
Could you believe the way that game ended? You as a coach, can you believe the way the Kings gave that up at the end?
Sadly, yeah. You saw it coming. Yeah. I thought, with about the 4 minute mark, you could see, boy, the momentum's all going one way here. And the Kings were sloppy and kind of gotten away from ball movement and things. And then, because I was watching the game and texting a friend at the same time, and at the end of the game, I said, the only way they can lose this is to foul on a three. I said, if there's any way they can, foul on a dribbler, so they have to shoot two free throws. And of course, I think that's what Coach Brown wanted, but that's not what he got.
Wow.
Jerry's kind of like who would fire an interim coach in the middle of the season? Again, who would foul on a 3-pointer with a 3-point lead? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. It was, certainly not one of Fox's better moments. I mean, it was really a poor decision, and he clearly fouled him. That was a thing. He put his hands on him, so it's just a mistake in all ways. I think the bigger mistake was where they really had a chance, to foul somebody before it got to that. Mm-hmm. And I think that was probably the part that frustrated the coach the most.
Well, when Mike was breaking down his reasoning, and he was very valid with his comments in the post game, he said, I told them to crowd, make sure that we deny, do not let a 3 happen. But he didn't say we should foul right away. And maybe that's a small criticism that I would give to him, because you're right, Jerry. The foul and play the free throw game would have been a better play. Let them hit 2 or try to hit 1 and then try to grab a rebound off a intentional miss on the second shot would have been the game that they would have had to play if they had just fouled.
Yeah, the only thing I wonder sometimes, just being from a different, the Stone Age and everything, is that, with about 10 coaches and everything around, sometimes I always say in a situation like that, you really only want one voice.
Mm-hmm.
And what you want is to not just explain it, but to explain it twice. Because I learned a long time ago, there's always somebody among the players that don't hear it the first time.
Repeat
like
after me, kids.
Yeah.
What did I just say?
I mean, so, and like I say, so like that's kind of where I wonder sometime, and around the league in general. But it's like, okay, this is a one kind of situation thing, and this is the situation, and what I want.
That's
and what you got to be aware of. But
yeah.
But like I say, even I say it twice. Say it twice.
Mm-hmm.
Jerry, let's have this as prediction tonight. Kings versus Lakers, 7:30 tonight. Lakers are favored by 1.5 points. That's kind of strange considering the Kings streak, but they are on the road, so there's a chance that they will win. Jerry, what's tonight's score? How do you see it playing out tonight?
Kings 105, Lakers 103. Fairly low scoring. Lakers are a good defensive team. Kings generally aren't, but I think that the fact that it'll be a close game will work for the Kings, because then the pressure always goes to the home team in a close game.
Who's the leading scorer for the Kings tonight?
The leading scorer tonight will be DeMar DeRozan.
Nice.
He will have 24 points, and LeBron James will have a shot to win the game, but he will gag. He'll gag miserably. And,
nice.
Clairvoyant Jerry in the house. I love this.
He's
I don't want to clairvoyant, but that's just the way I want it. So
you can will the way to win. Jerry, when's the next time you're coming to my shop? We miss you. We haven't seen you in a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to have to get in there. I might, just browse and to see you and to pick on you if I could a little bit. It brings me a good deal of joy. And you gotta.
I just want you to be happy.
He's got some nice Jerry West stuff in there.
Yeah, I have a Jerry West rookie card that I want to show you, or maybe even give you, because he told me, he being white, he told me that you are a Jerry West, and is it Oscar Robertson?
Mm-hmm.
Oscar Robertson. Those are my two heroes, and I've always been felt blessed to get to know both of them, and obviously two of the all-time greats that would probably find a way to be great in today's game as well.
Did I ever show you that video, Jerry, where Jerry West is talking to my son Beckett and leaving him a message and telling him about how to grow up? Did I ever show you that video?
I think yes, you did.
Okay, good. It's such a great memory, and I can't wait for Beckett to be able to be old enough to understand what was there.
Did he help you in growing up at all, or did he just said there was kind of hopeless with you? Is that what the deal was?
That's all the time we have with the legend Jerry Reynolds. Everybody, Jerry, one last thing with Oscar being still alive and still with us and still gracing us with his Hall of Fame presence. What's a story with Oscar Robertson and you that maybe you can share before you take off?
Well, I got to know him basically the Kings for years would have a Oscar Robertson Award, for community service and this, that, and the other. And so we'd always have lunch as part of the deal. And so I'd get a set next to him and just kind of talk with him. But he was a junior in high school when I first started following him. And actually, as a sophomore, he was on the Chris Posadic's team that lost to Malone, which was Hickory as far as the movie Hoosiers.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
With Jimmy, whatever his name was.
Yeah.
Chitwood.
Jimmy Chitwood, that's right. With that funny shooting stroke.
Which was actually Bobby Plump was the star, but it was basically a very accurate depiction of what happened. But then Oscar's team as a junior, they won the state and senior as well. And he was, he was like LeBron as a junior. He was the best high school player in the country as a junior. For sure. Incredible. And so anyway, he was, I still contend he's probably the most underrated great player ever. I mean, fundamentally perfect, no weak flaws in this game, but he played at a time where the idea was to get the closest, best possible shot,
Yeah.
as opposed to
not the open step back three with a wide open lane for a layup.
They drive in for a layup and kick it out for a corner three. So anyways, I'm showing you my curmudgeon.
The old good old days,
right.
and these kids now, I just want to squirt the
but
hose on them and get them off my lawn.
That's a hot topic.
Yeah.
And a lot of current fans are talking about how the game was better.
Yeah, they're finally coming around to my side, Whitey.
Yes.
I've been on this get rid of the corner three for half a decade.
I know.
Eventually, they're going to do it.
Yeah, Jerry is always ahead of his time.
If you just draw it out and pretty much cut out that corner three,
you can shoot from the corner. It's just not a three.
Yeah, just take the arc right to the sideline, and that's it. And that makes you'll get more post play. You'll get more fast breaks going to the basket, not guys running to the corners. More action that way, and then overall more mid game, which is still a big part of the game. And so anyway, if Commissioner Silver needs some help, and clearly he does.
We're working on Commissioner Jerry.
Yeah, Commissioner Jerry
Reynolds.
And then if it got too boring, they'd add a 4-point play or 4-point shot somewhere on the logo section.
I don't think you're probably not in favor of that, are you, Jerry?
I'm not even in favor of the 4-point ball in the All-Star game thing. They've even screwed that up. Just put balls out. Each one of them counts one.
Jerry's just gonna go. This is called the mid-range contest.
Right.
We're gonna do elbow threes, elbow twos.
Well, no, I like the 3-point if we're going to have, but I mean, for it to have money balls and double money balls, and we need to have guys running around in clown shoes, I guess.
and the Sprite ball that is it's glowing. This is fun.
Yeah, I mean the real skill is make as many of them as you can. Just like if you're a kid.
What a wild concept.
Yeah. So anyway, that would solve that. But anyway. And they can make the dunk contest a little better by getting no more than 15 seconds per guy, and you're not allowed to travel.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right.
Or you're defended.
You're not supposed to be able to travel in a game for a dunk. Why should you be able to run 5-6 steps to get that's not a real, that's not, basically a dunk's a layup with a little flash to it.
I think what we do is we take the best defenders, go against the best dunkers, and just go heads up 1-on-1, and let's go that way. That'd be a lot of fun watching people try to dunk on. Imagine Vince Carter versus Mutombo or something like that. That'd be a much more.
Now
fun.
You're exactly right.
I am right. Let's do it.
That would be pretty good. You wouldn't have more than half dozen injuries.
Jerry,
what's the difference right now with some of these guys with their entry loading right now?
I remember this is no one's going to care about this, but Jerry, except Jerry, maybe you, Emmerich. I remember reading a story. Wilt Chamberlain was coaching the San Diego team in the ABA, but he wasn't able to play because of the court said, no, you got to sit out a year. So anyway, he would run practices. And one time he did what you're talking about, Emmerich, where he standing by the basket and he dares the team, all right, you guys try to dunk on me. And, he's still Wilt Chamberlain. He's very good. But one guy got him. It was Caldwell Jones. Remember Caldwell Jones, Jerry? And I guess Caldwell Jones lit him up with a dunk.
Caldwell Jones with the long socks and the knee braces? That's the Caldwell Jones I think about.
He was a 7-footer or 6'11", wasn't he, Jerry?
No, he's probably 7 foot. Yeah. He ended his career in Carrollton, Georgia, against the West Georgia Braves in 1974. By the way, I was coaching there. We drubbed him.
There you go.
And sent him on his way to the pros.
Yeah. All right.
Man, I was -3 when that happened, Jerry. Good for you guys.
Well, there's a lot of people that weren't even thought of.
I was not a thought in my father's brain at that point.
1974.
Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. Well, Jerry, you're the best, Jerry.
Yeah. Thank you so much for joining us. What are you going to go back and do on this Saturday morning? Get back to doing.
Well, I'm as soon as I'm getting ready to go on my walk, so I can get that over with. I take an hour walk a day. I haven't decided where I'll go. I go different places every day because I don't want anybody to be able to predict where I'll be. So I said,
we're going to put an air tag on you, and we're just going to find you using our phone. It will look like Pokemon Go. We'll be looking for Jerry Reynolds. Where is he today? Jerry's like, I have
don't
no
want
clue.
to
Come
become a
get me.
target. So anyway,
Can somebody come get me? Locate you on my phone.
All right, Jerry.
And plus, more importantly, it gives me an hour to get out of the house. So I know Mrs. Reynolds will have one less hour to ask me to do something.
You got to get ready for the Chiefs this weekend, right?
Yeah. No.
Oh, because they played
already
Christmas. Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. No, they just got it wrapped up, buddies. They basically stay healthy now.
Yeah.
They're playing pretty well.
Yeah.
And so I'll watch a lot of the just some of the key games. I do enjoy the NFL. Of course, Kings tonight, and just hope that Dougie can and the fellas understand that it's on them now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And so it's too bad. It really is too bad, the whole thing. Coach Brown. Boy, I always say I was telling about today. The last Kings Coach of the Year, Phil Johnson was Coach of the Year in Kansas City with the Kansas City Kings. With Tiny Archibald and those guys. And so I think the Kings have had two coaches of the year and both got fired. So there you go.
Yeah.
And
let's hope Doug does not get Coach of the Year then. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's what saved me.
Oh my goodness, Jerry.
Thank you, sir. We appreciate it very much.
Thank you,
Happy
Jerry.
New Year. We'll talk to you soon.
Happy New Year, guys. Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Nobody quite like him.
Man.
Reynolds. Yeah. It's interesting to hear him there.
Biggest audience we've ever had on YouTube, by the way, watching this.
Really?
Yeah, it's 8 times more than we normally have.
Yeah.
So you are not the
tremendous.
savior. It is Jerry Reynolds.
Absolutely. I could have told you that. But, he talked about how sad it is. Some of that obviously coming from the fact that he's a coach and knows what it's like to be a coach. But also it's sad for all Kings fans because this is the end of an era. And I know a lot of fans look at it and say, he had to go. I don't agree with that. I understand that. But no matter how you feel about it, it was just a couple of years ago. Light the beam, Mike Brown, he's going to be here forever. And now we're not even 3 years later and it's already over. And it's we'll see what they do from now, but it is sad.
With the Light the Beam era happening at the height of the playoffs and everything that we experienced, that 16-year drought, does it feel a little weird to continue that something when Mike was such a big part of that? It's almost like, hey, the True Sports Card show, and then I'm unceremoniously told to leave. Does it continue in the same fashion?
Yeah, I know what you mean, because you could not have the Light the Beam team one without Mike Brown. He was such an integral part of that. And now that's what they're trying to do. So
strange place to be.
Yeah,
well, good luck to the Kings tonight. We're going to be rooting for you. We're always going to be Kings fans.
They're going to win 105-103.
105-103 with
And
DeMar
LeBron.
DeRozan scoring 24 points. If somehow this happens, I know that Jerry won the Powerball last night then too, because that is a wild prediction, but he's pretty good at his predictions. I remember when he used to do, it's a little tough when you're the color commentator of this, when he was calling games and he goes, Kings tonight are going to lose. And
you know what he was good at too, Emran, is when they'd get towards the end of the game and he'd be asked, by Grant would say, well, how many points is it going to take to win this game?
Oh,
and
yes.
He'd say, I think, and I try to do that myself now.
In the last 8 minutes, he'd go, he would say, how many points do we need, Jerry? And what's the score need to be in order for this to be an absolute win for the Kings? If the Kings get to 108, I think they do.
Yeah.
I remember he did that.
Yes.
He was
very
great.
good at that. Yeah.
So good at that.
Yeah.
But that was during the Kings losing eras. So he never really gave him the short. The Kings aren't going to hit the number, but it's 108. He didn't do that. But poor Jerry.
One thing I'll always remember about him as a broadcaster is when they finally won a playoff series. And I think it was the year they ended up losing to the Lakers, but they got into the playoffs. They lost to Utah. They got into the playoffs. They lost to the Lakers. Next year, they got into the playoffs, and they actually won a series. They beat Phoenix, I think. I remember Grant was asking Jerry, did you ever think we'd get here? Did you ever think this would happen? And Jerry said, I absolutely did. I absolutely felt that this was going to happen. Yeah.
It's something about being so loyal to your soil. I'm from Stockton, 209, but I've been a Kings fan since the infancy of the team coming here. And, when I remember the sense of pride that I had, I remember one game in particular. It was Kings versus Timberwolves, and it was a playoff game. And the Kings were down a lot, and people started leaving Arco. And then the Kings went on this furious comeback that took them to overtime. They ended up losing, but people had left really early in the fourth quarter. And, as they left, no in and out privileges, they left. And they were either in their car or whatever, and the comeback started. And people were banging on the doors like, open, open, open. Like, let me back in.
Yeah.
And it was so funny because a lot of the people started coming from the second balcony and coming down and sitting and filling the seats because it was such an energetic time. I was there during the Monarchs championship game.
I was too.
I was physically in the building when the balloons dropped. And I remember almost being in tears saying, I can't believe this is happening in my city.
Yeah, that was great.
And it's just one of those things where we want to see success here so badly after the futility that we've had over the years. And just, if we could just experience that taste. I mean, the year that we went to the play-in versus the Warriors and we lost in game 7, I mean, we're a few ball bounces away from going somewhat into the playoffs.
And most fans felt like, okay, we're on the right path now. And here we are a couple of years later going, whoops, we got to find a different path. So it's a little unsettling.
In spite of having the largest audience that we've ever had on YouTube right now, we got to talk about cards.
Yes.
Because this is a sports card show.
That's right.
It's probably something we should do.
That's right.
Just one.
You might want to think about inviting Jerry on more.
Yeah, Jerry, how do you feel about Topps Chrome Cosmic? I don't know what that is, but I remember when Oscar Robertson did. Keep going. Whatever it takes. Just get these ratings up, please. I'd like to have your 3 here if possible. Why do you? You're going to be opening some packs tomorrow with your family.
Yes.
I did bring in the newest release that just came out.
That?
It is 2023-24 Topps Chrome Cosmic.
What does that mean?
It
looks futuristic on the front, and there's Wemby, and there's planets, and the rings of Saturn.
Imagine the solar system. So it's got this theme of the solar system. It's going to be pretty incredible. That box we have at our store, $309 a box. And what you're looking for is what's called planetary pursuits. You're pursuing the planets.
There are three of them in
a case. No, in a case.
Oh, a case.
A case is 12 boxes. There's only 3 in there. So you've got one of 12 boxes. Let's hope that you have it. They go from Sun all the way to Pluto, even though Pluto is no longer a planet. Pluto being the most rare, Sun being the most common. We sold the baseball version of a Jackson Churio, the player for the Brewers, a PSA 10 Pluto. So the baseball version of this product for $5,500. Wow. Yeah. Out of a box that could be around $300, $400.
Mm-hmm.
So I hope that you enjoy this box with your family tomorrow.
Kind of you.
And if you pull anything great, be sure to bring it up to Drapes.
If I pull anything really great, you'll know because I won't be here next week.
I'll be retired. Where'd he go? He sold a $5,500 card and left town. Yeah. His wife's looking for him.
Living the highlights.
We put an air tag on him. He's hanging out with Jerry Reynolds somewhere. They're on a beach. He's sipping coconut water. Yeah, this is good stuff. We've got the year in review that we were delayed. We had an hour to talk about the year in review, but now we've got about 20, maybe 18 minutes left. Let's talk a little bit about this year in review, some good, some bad, some ugly. We're lucky enough to have Shep do our show notes for us. Wanted to just make a few.
I deleted most of that.
He's like, not going to talk about that. We have the Sacramento Autograph and Sports Card Expo that we are going to be putting on September 26 to 28 of 2025.
Question.
Yes, sir.
Why did you move? Last year it was in the spring. Was it in May?
May. Yep.
Yeah. And this year it's in September. May I ask why?
A couple reasons why. Number one, I needed a break. May was a bit much in the sense of the beginning of the year. And not only that, but you can't have two people, one person at two places at the same time. And a lot of the autograph guests that I had interest in were booked. They were booked in May.
I see.
Yeah. So it's like saying, can you come to do this show? And they're like, I'm already at this show. So what I needed to do is I needed to push it. And what's best about this is a lot of autograph shows happen on the East Coast. And when you're going into September, October, November, December, those shows are snowed out. They have bad weather. They have cancellations. There's a lot of reasons why the East Coast, but fortunately here on the West Coast, we still have great weather.
That's right.
In fact, last September when we had a show, it was so hot still outside. I mean, it was approaching 100 degrees in September. So we always have great weather. So it's a better chance and opportunity for us to have autograph guests because the weather of other shows don't allow them to be able to be booked as frequently or as often.
Mm-hmm.
So we opened it to that. And then two, I wanted a long leeway. I wanted to be able to have a show to where we're going to talk about fatigue, show fatigue here in a few minutes, not radio show fatigue, but show fatigue as in card shows. It's one of those scenarios where I wanted new dealers. And when you have a show here locally, somewhere in Northern California every week, as it's been for there's been a card show here in the Northern California area, 16 of the last 18 weeks. It's crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So you still have the same guys with the same inventory. It's always the same thing. So if I could create an event with 400 tables with 200 different dealers, I'm going to ask people from Ohio and New York and Colorado to come and be an exhibitor at our show, see some fresh inventory, some new dealers, allow our region to experience some really great opportunities with people that they've never done business with before.
Gotcha.
And that's what I wanted to do. So I wanted to push that out and create this event. It's going to be at the Rubin Center there at the fairgrounds in Roseville, 160,000 square feet. And it's huge event. I hope that I can fill it. My goal is to have between 30 and 50 autograph guests.
So that's a Friday, Saturday, Sunday again?
Yeah, it's going to be a Friday, Saturday, Sunday. We're going to
be up against the NFL.
I love it. Let's do it.
Or I guess you could be in tandem with them depending on how you.
However you look at it. But the other thing too is I want to I had a great time at the Fanatics experience in New York in the sense of there were events to where you can interact with players. So number one, the Kings, who will be on a winning streak at that point, and we'll feel really great about the new season. They are not starting yet. So we'll have a chance to bring Malik or, some of our other players locally to the show without conflicts of the actual games or practices. Preseason hasn't even started in October until October at that time. So that September, we're going to be
right before camp opens.
It's going to be perfect because they'll be in town and have a chance to be able to do part of what we're doing. But the other thing I want to do is make sure that there's an interactive relationship with the people that are coming to the show. So we might have like a free throw shooting contest with Alex English, the Hall of Famer, or something.
I got him.
Something, yeah. The leading scorer of the entire 80s. He was the leading scorer for the entire decade. And
I was the leading scorer of the 1880s.
And Jerry was your coach. So yeah, this event is going to be really exciting. Stay tuned. We'll give you more information throughout the year. But put that on your save the date calendar. September 26th through 28th here in Roseville.
That's tremendous. Looking forward to that.
And then I also want to make sure that we talk a little bit about the JSA drop-off between now and January 2nd. If you have any items that you would like to have authenticated that are autographed, it's your chance to get it done. We have James Spence Authentication that's going to be working with us the first week of January. So if you have an item that you are wondering if it's authentic or you'd like to get authenticated, we would be happy to take that in for you.
This isn't grading, it's authentication.
Right. So if you have an autographed football, autographed baseball bat, whatever, jersey, whatever it is that's not authenticated by a reputable third party, we'd be happy to be the facilitator for you to do that. Just come by the shop, drop it off by the 2nd of January.
I have something to bring in, as a matter of fact.
What is it you're bringing in? Sammy Sosa ball?
Somebody gave me, years ago, somebody gave me a bunch of stuff that had been his brother's, and there's a ball in there, and it's an old baseball, and it's got a bunch of old Pittsburgh Pirates, but I can tell they've been stamped. Okay. I can see it.
Right.
Yeah. But there's also a Joe DiMaggio on there that does not look like it's stamped. And the gentleman who gave it to me says, "Oh yeah, that's legit." So anyway, that's something I want to have checked out, and I want to donate it if it's legitimate.
You're a San Diego guy for some reason.
Yeah.
You're like,
Padres.
I'm a big movie quoter. So is Kyle. Behind the window. He's a big San Diego guy. But
he's from there.
When you said
for different reasons.
Yeah. When you said old wooden ship, I thought of the movie Anchorman. And it's like, oh, we're going to talk about diversity. What is that? Because Ron Burgundy goes, I think it's an old wooden ship. I guess I don't think the executives are worried about an old wooden ship the way that you just said old baseball.
Oh, okay.
That's called a tangent.
Right.
And I went that way. But the show's supposed to go this way. I'm sorry about that.
They get back there. It's your show.
My show. I'll say whatever I want.
Right. You go wherever you want.
You'll loop your way back around Pluto and come back.
It's worth $5,500.
Not a planet anymore.
Yes, not a planet anymore. We got.
So anyway, I'll have to have that. I'd like to have that authenticated. See.
There's some new releases. Absolute Football's on their shelf. You look for Kabooms, Topps Chrome Cosmic Basketball, which is there. Draft Picks Football is brand new. 4 autographs per box. That's just $230 a box. all those are new. They're at the shop. You can go visit us at 6661 Stanford Ranch Road there in Rockland. Our team is there. Big Shep's there. Speaking of Big Shep, I'm not going to be here next week because I'm going to be at a card show buying cards. But you and Shep are going to be here, obviously.
Awesome.
And, yeah. So you'll have a chance to talk. That'll be good for you on the radio. Your co-host will give you a chance to speak. But we wanted to talk about the year in review. Obviously, this Mike Brown situation caused a little bit more of a topic burner at the top. But really quick, because next show, maybe you and Shep can talk about like the year ahead and what's in front of us. In the year of review, as a casual now increasing your interest in collecting again, Whitey, what's kind of something that you personally have been happy with in 2024, either the industry or you as a collector or you as somebody that's getting more involved in the card game?
I just think what Topps Chrome update did with the Skeens and all the rookies, the true one of ones, is they tried to come up with how do we come up with a true one of ones with the patches? And I know this is hardly a newsflash because they're highly sought after. I think it's incredible. And the way it's brought so much energy to the hobby. The hobby is always kind of fighting that gravity. And then during the pandemic gave it a big push, and then things have been settling down. And they're overprinted. People get excited about this or that. But the energy in my short time back in the hobby, it's unlike anything else I've ever seen. Just the mania for people trying to find all the rookie patches, but especially the Skeens card. It's unlike anything else.
Still unfound.
Yeah.
Still, at least not publicly. And who knows, breaking news might happen and it might hit, but like that is $1 million card. We already know that. And it's driving up the prices. Topps Chrome update jumbo boxes started at roughly about just under $500 because we knew that those patches were in there. And as the Skeens has eluded people, the boxes continue to go up.
Wow.
Right now, my cost, and I don't carry it right now because I think that the bubble will burst as soon as it gets pulled. My cost to get that box is just under $800. My cost, let alone what I got to charge my customers.
Yeah. And real quick, for anyone who doesn't know, and correct me if I'm wrong here, but long story short, all the rookies, Fanatics had patches for them to wear. It was their patch, Fanatics. So when the games were done and players made their debuts, Fanatics got the patches and put them in cards.
Yes.
So it's
and there's only
patch.
one of those.
Yeah. So some of the players are trying to get their own patches back.
True. I just had a question based on that because I saw during the NFL holiday weekend thing, they had a little candy cane like logo on the patch. That's the same thing? That's a card partner that's probably asking for that?
Absolutely. They're probably going to do something with that.
NBA players had snowflakes on Christmas Day.
Did they? I missed that.
I'm absolutely positive that they're going to do something with that to monetize it. But imagine having LeBron's very first game where he played here in Sacramento, and there was a little thing that said NBA debut, and they cut that and put it somewhere. Yeah. I mean, that's a $10 million card because it's from his game jersey from the game that he played in his first ever. And you got to say he's one of the top 2 or 3 players of all time, guaranteed. So at this point, it's like, well, what would an Ohtani in 2018 have looked like?
Yeah. So Skeens is the most sought after, but all of these rookie patches are sought
even
after,
the
right?
commons are $2,500 to $5,000 in resale. So what a great thing for me. It's Michael Rubin's commitment to not doing redemption cards. The Panini world over the last 8 to 10 years has been filled with, we couldn't get LaMelo Ball to sign, so we're going to give this redemption card, and then you send it in, and then when you send it in, we'll send it out to you because we'll eventually get LaMelo to sign.
At some point, you might get it back.
Which he never did, actually. Yeah. So a lot of those redemptions didn't come through. Or then the other thing is you're buying a box for, as an example, Panini Prism football right now is about $1,000 a box for 12 packs, and you're guaranteed 2 autographs in the box. But imagine if you're pulling it and you get Panini points instead. So you're getting 500 points that you got to go to a website and choose from these ones. And there's nobody of interest there. Like the redemption world has really put a damper on wanting these boxes, especially when redemptions have expiration dates. And so when you have expiration dates on redemptions and you buy a box because you wanted something from 2010, even if you hit something big, it's not redeemable because it's already so far gone. So how valuable is that box? There was a guy that was online that bought a box of 2009, 2010 Exquisite or something like that. It was the Upper Deck product at that time. And you're chasing Curry rookies, you're chasing all that stuff. He bought it within the last year. He opened it, pulled a Michael Jordan autograph, redemption. Can't redeem it. So imagine what that card would be worth if it was actually physically in the box. Tens of thousands.
Yeah.
Right. So here we are. And Michael Rubin says, enough with the redemptions. I'm done with this game. And now he's really thinking he's less than 10% redemptions of what they were just a few years back. And he said, if you do pull a redemption, it's valid for 10 years after the year of the box. So we promise to make sure that these boxes, if you want to save them as a long-term investment, we'll honor redemptions up to 10 years after the year. Would
Michael Rubin get the Pilati Award as the person of the year in the hobby? Probably Wemby might be a nominee. Maybe Skeens, maybe Caitlin Clark, maybe Otani.
Out of all those people that you named, I physically spoke with Michael Rubin for 5 minutes. I will tell you this. I met him at the National in Cleveland. He was walking down the aisleway. He had one security guy with him. But he was very,
and you could have taken him.
I looked at the guy. I gave him that look. He knew to back off.
Yeah,
he knew to back off. And so I stopped him and I was like, I'm sorry to bother you. I know that he goes, I wouldn't be walking down here if I didn't want to talk to people. I told him that I'm a card shop owner in California. And he goes, oh, really? And then he turns his body to me and we have this full on discussion for about 4 or 5 minutes. And I felt like, again, he is well-versed in the public world of how to handle himself and what to do. But it really did feel like I was the only person in that room talking to him. And he's asking me direct questions like, so how do you feel about when we did this? Or what are your thoughts on this new program? Do you feel like you're getting the allocation that you deserve? I go, I could use more. And he goes, be sure to talk with your manager to do this and that. And so I did everything that he said and it's happened. So it's like being able to talk to a head of $1 billion company in a very candid and casual way. He would get a Pilati Award this year. I think that he's trying to do the innovation. I think that one thing that they're learning about paying for exclusives. I can't even imagine what he's paying and making sure that these players are signed with him. If I could do anything, if I sat on his board of directors and I said, you're paying Caleb Williams this and you're paying Jaden Daniels that, and you're making them exclusive and it's hurting Panini products, but it's helping the Topps and Fanatics products and it's stretching the budget thin. I'm sure that they've got to outlay a ton of money, right? And it's got to come from somewhere. So maybe they're taking it from their apparel side and bringing some of the money over because the card money is not bringing that money in just yet, but it's going to get there. I would say worry less about the exclusives and go buy Upper Deck. That's what I would say because Upper Deck is such an iconic brand for people that are yours and my age that we would dump money into Ultimate, into Exquisite, into the old Upper Deck. They could go back and use some of the 1989 Upper Deck, that type of style as a retro, going back and getting some of that Fleer product. I mean, that's all owned by Upper Deck. So stop spending the money on exclusive of these players that could. I mean, he spent exclusive money on Will Levis. How good is that investment? I'd much rather spend the money on buying Upper Deck. I
didn't know that Upper Deck owned Fleer.
Yeah. It's Fleer Metal. They have a lot of those brands. So why wouldn't you just buy these iconic brands? And Upper Deck is exclusive for the hockey product.
Right.
So if you just added those two together, that'd be great. Quickly, we've got a couple minutes left. Whitey, what's your dud for the year? What do you wish happened that didn't, or what was a disappointment to you?
NBA Monopoly to me was just like
the card product.
Yes.
Not for you.
Right.
It became an affordable version of Prism.
You're right.
So it did introduce some of the younger or maybe more economically challenged people the chance to be able to do that. I like having a brand that is familiar but actually affordable. So I could see that. Mine is card show fatigue. I talked about it a little earlier. We have a show every weekend for the last 16 of 18 weekends. It puts a strain really on the industry because you've got all these people seeing the same products, the same shows. And I will tell you that I call them museum dealers. And what that means is they go there and one of two things happen. Number one, they don't price any of their cards. So you have to ask them, how much is that? How much is that? How much is that? And they're annoyed at you. Oh God, I got to tell you how much this thing costs. Yeah. Yeah, imagine going to the grocery store and going, there's no tags on anything here. I wonder what this costs before I grab it off the shelf. And then the second thing is that they have museum pricing. Well, I'm into it a lot of money. So even though the last 10 sold for $100, mine's $300 because I bought this for $250. Yeah, you're a museum dealer. You're somebody that has no intention of selling, and then you're mad that you had a bad show. Okay, come join us in reality. So those are my two frustrations. You're hosting next week with Shep.
Yes.
What are you excited about for next show, talking about the future of 2025 and what we're doing?
I'm excited as we get closer and closer to Chrome Topps getting back into the licensing for the NBA.
Just 1 year away.
Not there yet, but we're getting closer.
You know what year they're getting? They're getting the Cooper Flag draft year.
Yeah.
So good thing that they missed this year.
And I'm, as always, this time of year, look forward to the new basketball, even though I know this year the basketball product is not what it was last year, but it's always exciting when the new one comes out.
You open that with your family tomorrow, save the hits. Let us know what you hit next week.
If I'm here next week.
Yeah, if you haven't cashed out and left town.
Cha-ching!
Thank you, Kyle, for being here nice and early on this Saturday. Thank you so much, Whitey. And thank you, Jerry Reynolds, the legend. We love having Jerry on, and we would love to see him at the shop there at 6661 Stanford Ranch. True Sports Cards in Rockland. Go see Shep and the team. Would love to see you. And we're buying. We're always buying. So I think we have an outro music that Kyle has been working on. Maybe not. Yeah, I don't know. Is it working yet?
Card Saturday, they're riding with you. Best card show in the country, it's true. So saddle up and listen, find out what you've been missing. You can be a card part too.
Happy Saturday, everyone. Have a great week. We'll see you next week.
At Elk Grove Honda, our recipe for happy holidays is to think happy Honda days. Let's